journalist Alistair Soyode joins us now via Skype from the UK to talk more about this. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right. Research shows that about 800 journalists have been killed in the last decade. And what is more worrying is that out of 10 of those who commit these crimes against journalists, 9 of them usually go free. Why do you think that authorities haven't been able to put measures in place to ensure that those who commit these crimes are held accountable?
Well, thank you very much. As you know, all around the world, journalists and people who work in the media industry sacrifice quite a lot to bring stories and information to the viewers, to their audience. And a lot of this do happen across Africa where the law or the rule of law really has not become strengthened, has not been very effective compared to the Western organization or Western country. So I think what the African Union has been trying to do something in that direction, and more so on other African countries, is to strengthen the law, not just in relation to the journalists, but again, in the sense that they sacrifice quite a lot to bring stories to their citizens. And I think it's one thing that we have to look at in the whole of this, is that the law of the land needs to be strengthened. The lives of journalists who sacrifice beyond ordinary citizens need to be taken very, very serious. And of course, another issue is even the rule of law in terms of freedom of information. Those are the things that I believe African countries need to do, need to be strengthened, even especially in Nigeria.
But there seems to be some recorded progress, Alistair, as the United Nations is now saying, well, countries, more and more countries are getting aware of the impunities against journalists. Is that a yardstick for progress in your view?
Indeed, it is a yardstick, but enough is not done. I guess a lot of countries are taking into consideration the report from international organizations. Some of these countries depend on grant and aids from these international organizations. So the international organizations, who are mostly based outside African continent, are recommending and demanding that the freedom of information, which is very, very important, is allowed to move freely. And the people who are in charge of this freedom of information, or free news, and be it on social media, are the media people, are the journalists. Their life is very, very important. And I guess that's the reason why, in the sense of what you're saying, some countries have improved or strengthened the relationship. But again, you can go into history as well, find out that some countries, as much as they're trying to show that they're friendly or media friendly to journalists, they're actually creating another angle whereby they strengthen the freedom of these individual people to report stories accurately without being biased to whoever is in government. So that is another issue that has not allowed to move freely. You can look at other national-owned media organizations or journalists having more free time, free access to information compared to those who work in the private sector of the media industry and as journalists.
All right. In Nigeria, for instance, the rate of crimes against journalists, it is more, I mean, harassment, violence and all of that against journalists is more from the security personnel, the army, the police and all of that. Not too long ago in Abia State, there were reports of the security personnel going into the office of the NUJ, taking their work tools, beating up in a journalist and all of that. What do you think that the Nigerian authorities needs to do? Do you think there needs to be more sensitization as to how to allow journalists to have freedom to do their job?
Well, thank you very much. That's a typical example of rule of law not becoming effective. And in this situation, as you know, the army officers or the police officers who committed a crime were supposed to be the people who should be protecting not just the journalists, but the citizens. And in this situation, rightly so as well, it's not just the issue of sensitization, but it's the issue of saying when you break the law of the land should become effective, should be allowed to take its own position. And of course, some people do say maybe the journalists actually went beyond normal. No, we don't think it is so. But the rule of the land, the law should be allowed to do is to deliver whatever it is that somebody is doing that is wrong. And the members of the force, be it police, be it army, they need to really take into consideration that the journalists are there to report incidents of what is actually happening precisely and independently. Are the journalists which supposed to report the media? Media basically means mediating between left and right, mediating between south and east or north and west, reporting accurately and independently, and they should be allowed to do their work. And I think it's basically the government need to let their forces, be it army, be it police, even the ordinary people, know that when you break law, that law needs to be allowed to deliver its due course on anybody, in spite of either they're in the army or in the police force.
Alistair Soyode, journalist joining us from London, the United Kingdom. Many thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.